If you like the idea of a big, fast Audi, but the RS6 Avant is just not your thing because it's a station wagon, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, Audi's got something for you as well. Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and I'm here with the 2024 Audi RS7 Performance. The RS7 is not new. It's not new in this generation. It's been out for a bunch of years at this point, but for 2024, Audi is using the opportunity to create performance models of a lot of their RS cars. So they've done a lot of different tweaks here for the sake of legitimate performance, from more power and torque to different wheels to just different little tweaks all over the place. So let's get into what this car is and go from there, see if it's any good to drive. So first things first, this being a sportback, it is not going to be a station wagon. I mean, I think the RS6 Avant is like the world's hottest dad wagon, but if that's really not your thing and you want kind of a different rear end treatment, I mean, totally get that. The RS7 is going to be more for you. So it looks like a sedan, but it's not. Sportback in Audi terms is one of those things that means giant hatchback that you can't really tell as a hatchback. So in this case, you've got a gigantic hatch opening. We'll talk more about what you can and can't fit in this car, because I certainly tried and certainly failed yesterday before I started filming, but this is still going to be a very practical vehicle, all things considered. It's just not a wagon. So that is what the Sportback is. Now, what they've done for 2024, making this a performance model, first things first is with the engine. So the RS7 has always had a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 in its current form, and they managed to find 30 horsepower and 37 pound-feet of torque for 2024. So that means 621 horsepower and 627 pound-feet. Certainly not slow. That is paired still to an 8-speed torque converter automatic and standard quattro all-wheel drive. Now, Audi wanted to get a 0 to 60 time that was a little faster than before, which really 0 to 60 doesn't matter a whole lot in day-to-day driving, but it's fun on paper, and it does mean that the car is quicker in some way. So yay, they found power and torque, but they also pulled weight out. So they found 17 pounds of sound insulation that they could remove from the car, which might seem counterintuitive to make the car louder, but frankly, I've always thought these cars could stand to be a little bit louder. So they pulled 17 pounds of sound deadening out of the car, and then they got these wheels. So these are a 22-inch wheel. They are unique to the RS7 Performance for this model year. They are forged, and they are 11 pounds per corner lighter than the wheels on last year's car. That reduces unsprung mass, which is a big deal for any vehicle, because that not only affects your ride, not only affects the overall weight of the car, but unsprung mass affects your performance more than sprung mass. So, you know, if you pull weight out of the interior, that is sprung weight. But unsprung, meaning anything kind of at the hub, the corner of the car, that is going to affect your handling, it's going to affect your ride, and it's going to make the car feel lighter on its feet. So it's huge. They found 11 pounds per corner and made a nice, strong wheel with it being forged like this. I think they're really good looking. I don't really like black wheels in general, but these do suit the character of the car. They have a nice painted on 30 series tire. It's a wide tire. It's a 285 with a 30 series, 30 section sidewall on it. So it's a lot of tire for this car. Now, Audi says that that is good for a 0 to 60 time of like 3.3 seconds, which totally believe. We'll talk about that more in the driving portion of the whole video here, but that's what they did for weight. So they got 61 pounds out of the car, which is a big deal. Now, the car still weighs almost 5,000 pounds, so this is not going to be a Miata. It's not going to feel like a Miata. It's not going to feel super light on its feet, but still, 61 pounds of weight removal out of a modern car is huge, and I'm super impressed they were able to do it. Now, otherwise, Audi didn't change a whole lot performance-wise for the RS7 Performance. There's some little tweaks to the exterior and the interior for styling's sake. They've added some different carbon fiber touches inside, and that's kind of it. This is still going to be a really nice, well put together car as far as an overall package is concerned. You've got adaptive suspension on all 4 corners. You've got active exhaust. It's got giant brakes on it. It's well thought through vehicle for just being a whole lot of everything. And this one is pretty well equipped. It's pretty well loaded. It's $152,000 of RS7 Performance. So you've got the really nice Bang & Olufsen sound system. You've got the executive package. You've got the carbon fiber inside. You've got night vision. You've got all this cool stuff. But we're here really to talk about how it drives. So let's get behind the wheel of those really nice cognac performance seats and hit the road. So before we get started, one other thing that Audi did do on the RS7 Performance for 2024 is they gave it a white gauge cluster appearance going on. So this is, you know, a fully digital cluster. It's the virtual cockpit that they've had for a long time, but they changed the theme. So you have white faced dials if you've got it in the full dial mode. And that's just kind of an homage to past Audi RS models. It's kind of a nice touch. I like it. It's a little more, it adds a little more character to the car. car. And of course, you've got different gauge views based on the drive mode you're in or whatever you pick on the MMI. So in here, you still have the same 3-screen setups. You've got the virtual cockpit for your cluster. You've got a main screen up here for your infotainment. And then you've got a screen down here that's largely for climate control, but you can also use to input destinations if you use the built-in Audi navigation system. I still don't love this setup. They are continuing to go further down the all-screen route in their interiors as the cars evolve, and I still don't like it. But this setup does work pretty well. It's haptic, and it is somehow better than other haptics that I've used, and it's paired with a steering wheel that I really like as well that has real buttons. So I know we're moving away from buttons on things, and I hate it, but this is still very, very good, and it's because this car hasn't been updated fully. We're not in a new generation of RS7 or A7-esque models yet. So it'll get there. I'm sure it'll be something that I don't like because it will be fewer physical buttons, but for now, this is a really great interior. I still love it. And this car does have a heads-up display, so I've got some things up there in the cluster as well. Now, there is an RS button on the steering wheel. You've got all your drive select modes down here, but this gives you access to RS1 and 2, which you can customize. So I've got RS1 set for pretty much everything turned up except for the suspension. That is my favorite mode for being obnoxious in the city because it keeps the suspension nice and soft, but keeps the engine and the exhaust note in its more active loud setting. But if I hit it again, it goes to the RS2 mode, which is everything turned up all the way, and we'll bounce between the two as we drive here. So let's go ahead and roll out. And then as we wait for this light to turn, the shifter does have a manual mode. You've got drive and sport, and then you can click it over to the side. Just go left and right here, and if it's over to the right, that goes into its full manual mode, and that gives you full control with the paddle shifters. Now, I'm gonna start off with this in its full drive sport mode, so it'll hold the gears longer, but it's gonna shift for me. In the manual mode, we'll talk about how that behaves here in just a second. Now, everyone's gonna wanna know, how is this for horsepower? How does it feel? I'll give you all a little pull down the on-ramp if I can, but we also got to do a little more playtime yesterday when I was off trying to pick up some furniture that I couldn't. So yeah, we'll give it a second. Now, I know you all want to hear full throttle pull and the noise of that glorious V8 with the active exhaust turned all the way up, so I'll go ahead and just stand on it. This is a fast car. The V8 sounds fantastic. Even from a roll there, we were doing like 20, 22 miles an hour in second gear. It just builds boost, it takes off, and it goes. And it is plenty quick. Now, I also got to play a little bit more. The car does have launch control, which you just put it in the full RS2 mode, floor the brake, floor the throttle, and it will do its launch control thing. Go ahead and take a look at how that went. And so that's launch control. Of course, we did this in a very controlled environment with no one around. It's very interesting. My drag strip looks a lot like a warehouse park, but you know, amazing what racetracks look like these days. Anyway, the rest of this car, we'll talk about this as we're kind of cruising at slower speeds because I've done plenty of highway driving as it is. This is just such a well put together package. Now, on the topic of driving very quickly and hearing that V8, it is still too quiet for my liking, despite them having removed sound deadening and this having an active exhaust. This is in its loudest exhaust setting, and I still think it could just be a little louder. I know that this is not the point of this car to be like a rowdy, crazy machine, but it still could be. It's all right there. It's got the little burbles if you're really ripping on it. It has got the ferocity when you're accelerating, but it still could be a touch louder. And now as this light turns, we're gonna try and make it ahead to make this on-ramp here. And this is what I really like about this car. I've got this in the manual mode now. The way the power builds is just nice and progressive. It's not scary. It's unlike an electric car that has full power and torque from, you know, zero. This instead is a little more progressive, but it swells. It's easy to control despite being a lot of power. And when you use the paddles, the shifts are very immediate, very gratifying. This is, you know, a ZF torque converter. It's not a DCT, but it does do a pretty nice job. Now, it will let you bang against the rev limiter, which is endlessly fun in tunnels if you want to be like a child and put the windows down as I do. So you can get a little bit of, and like, that's fun. Yeah, this could just be a little louder. just to satisfy the inner child in me, I really like this V8. I've driven it in another RS7 a couple years ago and the RS6 Avant last year, and I think it's just so silky smooth and creamy, but it does have a little bit of personality. It's not quite as rowdy as like a Americanized V8, if you will. It's very Germanic in how it builds power and delivers power, but generally, I just really like the drivetrain in this car. And you know, even when you put it back to the sport automatic mode, it's just creamy, it's easy. Now suspension wise, they didn't really do anything for 2024 here, but it rides really nice. Even in the full stiff mode and in the RS2 mode, it's not egregiously stiff. It is, you'll notice it in the city, but if you put it back to the soft setting, it's just very compliant, very befitting of what this car is, what it costs. You know, this is not going to be the most aggressive, hardcore Audi RS model that they sell. It's too big for that. So I do like the balance they've achieved there. Now, it's still tricky because they've got these giant wheels with itty-bitty tires on them. I think it rides well, all things considered. That said, if it were mine, I'd probably prefer a 21-inch wheel, or even a 20-inch wheel, to be honest, with a lot more tire going on. I think it would probably help for the sake of overall ride comfort just a little bit more. Now, that's paired to some seats that are very comfortable. I've been, you know, driving many hours of time in these. They're great. The thing with modern Audis that I love is that they're very good for tall people. I fit so well in these. I'm 6'1". Granted, based on how you are for torso versus legs, all that, come on legs, you're gonna be different than I am, but you'll probably find it pretty comfy and just a nice relationship between steering wheel, pedals, dashboard, windows, controls, all of it. I do really like that. Now, steering in this car, again, unchanged from prior years, but it is so nice because you've got decent feel. Again, this is not the most hardcore Audi RS car, but you do have rear wheel steering. So despite this being kind of large, it handles like a smaller car. It kind of shrinks around you. You do notice the size, but it's a little more maneuverable than you would think. When I had the last one a couple years ago, I took it out on some back roads and really ripped on it as part of an event we put together, and had a really good time. And it did not feel as bulky and clunky as I thought it might, despite being a bigger car. And that continues with this one. I've done the same thing, and it just it feels really good. So that is pretty nice, pretty impressive, just as far as how the whole package comes together. The one thing I don't love is the brakes on this car. These are not the carbon ceramics. I think carbon ceramics are kind of silly for day-to-day driving, and really even for track use. Not like you're going to track an RS7 much, probably, but either way, they're not the carbon ceramics, which is fine. I don't like the initial bite of the brake pads. The brakes there's plenty of brake for the car. It will stop just fine. They're gigantic, but it's a little tricky to modulate. It's a little aggressive for the initial bite, so it's kind of tricky to get used to. Obviously, if you're the owner, you're going to get used to it pretty easily longer term. But then as you work through the pedal travel, I don't love the feel. It's confidence inspiring just because you've got a big swept area. You've got giant rotors, big calipers, tons of pistons stopping the car, but something about it is just kind of off to me. And then when you are at a stoplight, it feels like it takes a lot of pedal to keep the car stopped. Now, you could say that kind of gives it some character because it's like a racehorse just trying to go, and you're holding it back. And like on the one hand, I think that's kind of fun and entertaining. On the other hand, I just think it's kind of goofy. So that's my only real complaint with the car. Other than that, I love the package here. I think it's very unassuming. It's very sleepery, and then if you want to let it rip, it will totally do it. Of course, this comes at the expense of fuel economy, but no one who's buying a 621 horsepower car with 8 cylinders and 2 turbochargers thinks you're going to get good fuel economy. I've been averaging like 11 point something because I like the way it sounds when my right foot is buried in the carpet. But if that's the worst of my complaints, then like, okay, fine. Now, I did mention the Sportback is a little less generous than you might think, so I just moved into a new place. I went to buy a piece of furniture and pick it up because I am cheap and didn't want to pay for shipping. And my friend and I got to the warehouse, and the nice man from Crate & Barrel said, well, I don't know where you think you're putting that, but it's not going to fit in that car. And unfortunately, the piece of furniture, this is not IKEA. They don't come flat packed, and I made some errors here, but the Sportback itself, the car is large. If you put the seats down, you've got good space here, but the issue is, and I actually ran into this with the RS6 Avant too in a slightly different way, the opening of the hatch is not as wide as I would hope. So I needed a couple more inches to really make this thing fit, and it just wasn't. There's no way it was going to get in the car. So unfortunately I left empty-handed, but kind of good point in A, measure before you drive an hour each way to go get a piece of furniture, and B, yes, this is utilitarian, but it is utilitarian to a point, not for everything. You know, if you really need something that's got a larger opening for your cargo, the RS6 Avant is the better choice there. And of course you've got the more squared off rear end, but then also, I mean, honestly, a Q7 is your better bet still. But the Sportback will be plenty big for plenty of people. You know, if you're looking to throw some bicycles in the back, or, you know, even just move some bigger things here and there, it will totally work for you. It's just, it's not quite as practical as I thought it might be, which was a little bit of a bummer, but that's really my fault. It's not the fault of the car. So in general, this is a really great package. Like I said, it's bad on gas, and I don't love how the brakes feel, but the brakes work just fine. That's a personal preference thing, and honestly, some different pads, or, you know, maybe a fluid flush or something, I would change it just a touch. But in general, I mean, this is just, I love it. This is, you know, I said the RS6 Avant was hot dad energy. This is also hot dad energy, just like the hot dad that doesn't like wagons. So, you know, it's totally a personal preference thing. The car is very similar to an RS6 Avant otherwise, and I know these are kind of unobtainable for some people. This is a lot of car. Most people don't need a car like this, but oh, it's just a nice package if you get it all together. The visibility's good. I fit in it, like I said. The sound system's pretty good. Much as I hate touchscreens, these are pretty decent to deal with. It's just I'm gushing at this point, and I'm gushing because I'm not BSing anybody. You know, I really am a fan, and I'm not a fan of every new Audi. I fit in them. I'm not a fan of all of them, but this just is such a great package to me. So, you know, not perfect, nothing ever is, but I dig this a lot. So, you know, do the performance bits add anything versus last year's model? I don't know. You know, it's impressive on paper that they pulled the weight out of it. Yay, it's got 30 more horsepower, but the other one was plenty fast too. You know, they're doing something to keep this car relevant for another year or so while they work on the next generation. That's kind of where we're at with these. They've been on sale for a while. It's just about that time, but there's nothing wrong with that. I really like what this is. So it's nice to see some improvement. I love seeing incremental improvement. And, you know, if you already have an RS7 from a couple years ago, this probably won't be a compelling upgrade for you. But if you're looking to get into something like this is the best one you can buy. And I am really, I'm a fan. And so that's the 2024 Audi RS7 Performance. It's kind of a, you know, jock in a suit sort of attitude here, and I am just such a fan. In any case, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff right here on YouTube. Follow us on the other social media channels that we've got, and head over to outmotorsports.com if you'd like to join some fellow LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, both on the racetrack and on the street. We've got a whole bunch of events coming up between now and the end of the year. We'd love to have you for any and all of that. So thank you so much, and stay safe, be well. We will see you again for the next one.